minutes. It takes no equipment. I'll show you some equipment that if you want to make something, you could. But the flamingo stance exercises are things that you don't need any equipment whatsoever, as long as you have a leg, okay?
Yeah.
It works.
I like
Okay?
to stand up.
I like to. That's going to my next presentation, right? I like to stand on. Okay. So the chiropractic approach obviously provides mobility to restricted subluxated joints. The more mobility you put in, the more proprioception you're going to get. Obviously, remove the nerve irritation, stimulates proprioception or proprioceptors. It's obviously vital to overall balance control. The more joint movement you have in the spine, the better, okay? So when you look at yoga exercises that may just stimulate an extremity, it's not going to be as beneficial as it would be to the spinal joints, okay? Spinal joints give far more proprioceptive firing than the extremities do. And think about the reason why. If you think about how much the body wants to protect the spinal cord, would that be high on the list to protect the spinal cord or low on the list? Extremely high on the list to protect the spinal cord. So where do you think more proprioceptors would be? In the spine, which is around the spinal cord, or around this elbow joint?
Around your spine.
Around your spine. So that's why the spine is so critical in terms of motion and movement and your proprioception. Okay, so as people start losing their mobility in their neck or their lower back, they wonder why they might have more slips and falls. So we'll look at that as a major component of why people do have slips and falls. All right, the stimulation of proprioceptors is the way we can get rid of pain as well. The more movement you put in, the less pain you get. So watch, when people wake up in the morning, what's that first half hour look like? Oh my gosh, my back, I've got to get the coffee going. Right, but after a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour into the day, things might feel a little bit better. It's because of the type of proprioceptors you're starting to fire. So when we stimulate those receptors, it actually dampens pain signals. So the old theory of back pain was to do what? Lay in bed for 10 days, right? What do you think of that theory now? It was the worst theory we ever came up with, okay? Luckily that was back in the 70s when I wasn't even born, so anyhow, but seriously, the reality is the fact that bed rest is the world's worst thing we can do. Motion and movement is really the key. So when people tell me they have pain, I'll say, keep going, move. Now, we're not saying keep going chopping firewood, okay? We're not saying, you know, keep going jackhammering the concrete out, those types of things. We're just saying keep movement going, okay? Because movement's going to dampen pain signals. All right, so the chiropractic exam, obviously our spine houses that central nervous system, the stress of it's called subluxations. Any of those adjustments are going to remove the subluxation component, which will remove the nerve interference, which is the lack of the proprioceptive input going up to the cerebellum. So, rocking chair exercises, Barry White, okay? The foremost articular neurologist in the country. Look at what he writes. Rocking in a chair for 2 minutes a day may be the single most important thing for people to do to prevent degenerative changes. How incredibly powerful is that? Rocking chair. So what I'm going to say to you at the end of the night is the fact that we want you to do a whole bunch of different things, okay? It's not the one thing we want you to do. We want you to just sit in a rocking chair for 2 minutes a day. I want you to do a bunch of different things. Stimulate as much of your proprioceptive system as you possibly can. But pretty neat, Barry White's saying, could be the single most important thing you could do to prevent degenerative changes is a rocking chair every single day.
Wow.
Right? So you have to dust off that rocking chair, right?
I convinced him to buy him when he doesn't want it.
Uh-oh. All right, so flamingo exercises. These are pretty neat. Does everyone want to try this?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's everyone stand up. Now what I want you to do, if you need to, I want you to keep the back of your calves. No, you can leave them on. Please leave them on initially, okay? We have some construction workers, and I'm sure their feet do not. I'm kidding. But what I want you to try to do is actually keep the calves fairly close to the chair, just in case you almost fall. Okay, and we don't want that. So if you're going to fall, just sit right back down. Okay. So what we want you to do is stand, kind of picture something in front of you. Okay, and you're going to go up into a one-leg stance where your one leg is up. Now you're not touching with the you're not touching the leg to the other leg, okay? So good. Now what I want you to do, and some people are going to have some significant trouble with this. Some people are going to have a really great time because they've